And welcome to The Real Deal, bringing you news, reviews and so much more from the world of film here at the Clapham Picturehouse.
On this week's show, a biopic of an American hero,
a film that causes a political firestorm,
and most excitingly of all, an animated movie about a silent sheep.
So first up, we're looking at a film that covers a major flashpoint in history, which is the US civil rights movement, and the actions of Martin Luther King. Let's take a look at Selma.
I've seen the glory, 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 hallelujah.
What happens when a man stands up, says enough is enough?
So joining me now is Cassam Looch and Roxy Simons. Thanks so much for being here. Now, we've all seen Selma, and I think I'm safe to say that we all loved it, didn't we? So let's talk about a little bit about what it's about exactly, and why has it been so snubbed?
Yeah, I mean, the snub is inexplicable given how much we loved it, and pretty much everyone who seems to have reviewed it and seen it already loves it as well. It focuses on Martin Luther King, played by David Oyelowo, and it's set in the town of Selma, which is where a march to Washington began. To try and claim equal voting rights.
Yeah, and it's just such a powerful performance from David Oyelowo, who I have to just point out is British in this, and he completely embodies Martin Luther King in this film. Did you enjoy his performance?
I did. I thought he was amazing, and I am just completely shocked that he was snubbed. Once I watched the film, I was just so angry at the Academy Awards and all the other awards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, BAFTA particularly, not having something in there for him, I think is just a huge understatement of what he has managed to achieve with this film. And also, I think we're looking at diversity within the Oscars as well, this lack of diversity. This was a perfect point to have a black female director take some sort of nomination for this, which I think, again, the cinematography, the way it's shot, the pinpointing of this particular moment in time as the story to tell it's done so well that I think it's such a shame that all of that had missed out.
That's the thing, you sometimes worry when the film focuses on one particular moment whether it's going to be able to cover everything and kind of make it relevant, but this one really does, and I think that's what really worked, because you've got the relationship with Martin Luther King and the president at the time, played by another Brit, Tom Wilkinson, and then another senator played by Tim Roth, who is on the other side of the argument, and you've got all these great relationships going on at the same time, and it makes it relevant now.
Yeah, and also we've also got some great performances in there, not only from David Oyelowo, but also we have these wonderful cameos, which are, you mentioned Martin Sheen, but we've, you mentioned Tim Roth, but we have Martin Sheen in there, we have Cuba Gooding Jr., Oprah is even in it. Now, when Oprah's in a film, you think it's got to get an Academy Award. But these are just such great, lovely little performances that really build into a really beautiful film. I just cannot see what has gone wrong with this.
The only argument I've heard at the moment is that it was something to do with the marketing, or it got the screeners out too late for everyone to consider. But my point is that if you've seen it, it will leave such a lasting impression that it doesn't matter when you see it. It kind of, it has lasted with us for that long. Like Boyhood came out so early last year, but because it was such a powerful, great film, everyone's remembered it and everyone's, included it in their voting. So I think this one should have been up there as well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think it's really relevant now as well because of all the problems that are in America with the African Americans. I think this is a very important film, not only because Martin Luther King, but because it shows that they still have their rights that they need to uphold.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let's just talk a little bit about sort of if there are any problems within this film, to kind of just pinpoint anything on those. So I'm really struggling with it. I laughed, I cried, I loved the relationship within the family of Martin Luther King. I felt very moved when they did the walk, and originally, for those who know this in history, they got turned away and there was this huge violent scene which was captured on camera at the time. That really affected me, and I thought it was done so well. But is there anything that wasn't quite done very well in your eyes?
I mean, I'm like you, I'm struggling to find any flaws in this film. The only thing I can say is that it's not one that I will rush out and watch again.
Yeah.
But that's not to say, that's not any slight on it. I'm comparing it to a film like Whiplash, which I wanted to see straight away again. Yeah. And this is a different kind of reaction. I mean, I love it just as much, but I can't say I'd go and watch it straight away.
Yeah.
Personally, can't think of anything that's wrong with it. I mean, maybe one thing it suggests that things are all great and fine now because the fight is over, but apart from that, I think the film was perfect, the acting was amazing, the relationships were so moving and just The music as well, I love the
Yeah,
music.
gets you very, very emotional throughout this film. I think, again, like you guys said, it is the subject of marketing. I think even with the title of the film, it's not easy to decipher that this is going to be a film about Martin Luther King, which I think can be problematic sometimes. But guys, let's give it the real deal. What do you think?
Real deal on this film is that it's one that I think we all love, and we can't recommend it highly enough. I think we give it a straight 5.
Fantastic, there we go, brilliant. Coming up next is a film that has caused controversy in so many different ways, on and off screen. We're going to be having a look at the interview.
Gentlemen, you are entering into the most dangerous country on Earth. Please remember, Kim Jong-un is a master manipulator.
I have a gift for you.
Oh, this dog is killing me with cuteness.
It's a crazy cute.
So that's a clip from the interview, and it's not many films that can say they have caused a genuine international incident. Cassam Looch is here, though, to get to the bottom of it all. Cassam, is it worth all the hype?
It's really not, no, and that's so disappointing.
No, I'm so annoyed at this film.
It is, I mean, it kind of ruined everyone's Christmas, didn't it? Like, it was the talk of the town. Everyone was talking about the interview and the reaction to it, and, you know, the hacking gate and all of that around it, and it's just not worth it in the end. It's a very mediocre comedy, which is...
If this film wasn't put on such a pedestal, and I say that not in a positive way, but just put in such a platform that was showcased to the world, this would have fallen by the wayside with a lot of other Seth Rogen films, I'm not going to lie. It is so self-indulgent and boring and so not worth the fuss.
Well, I said to you a couple of times, I said to Cassam before we started rolling as well, I think Seth Rogen might have hacked Sony himself.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Because he must have thought,
surprised.
oh my word, this is blooming awful.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do something here.
It's not awful in its super offensive kind of way, and I think that's...
It's not controversial in itself, it's just bad.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask a question though? Because, I mean, we've all written and sort of done lots of shows and stuff about this recently. I think it's quite an offensive idea to make a film about assassinating a living head of state. Now, if North Korean cinema, that powerhouse of world cinema, had made a film about assassinating Barack Obama, there would be an enormous outcry. Do you think there's justification in the North Koreans being offended?
Oh, there's never any justification.
There's no justification for what they did, but, you know, being offended by it, I guess, you know, you're kind of offended by most comedies. You know, you can't hold that as against it. I'm offended by how bad it was.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the real offence
Yeah.
is, really. James Franco's in it, and he's really overacting. He's so hammy
So
in this.
panto,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. From the outset, when he comes streaming in as his character on this talk show, he's just like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. And it's just so cringe at the beginning. And I have to point out one particular scene where they plant a sort of cyanide, essentially cyanide or something that's going to kill King Jong-un in this. And they say, right, it's in your hand, don't close your hand, but you need to go up and shake his hand. And he literally does this almost like jokey kind of walk where he's like this all the time. And you just think, oh my God, kids who are acting in school could have done this better than he's done it. And it is so frustrating to watch. In fact, I'm not going to lie, I switched it off. I didn't even see it to the end.
It's a tough watch, and that's purely because of how bad it is.
Any redeeming features?
There's a couple of laughs, but I mean, you have to really be into that Seth Rogen style of comedy, which I thought was wearing thin from the first film, you know, way back in Knocked Up. And now it's just such a tired format and such a tired formula. I've had enough.
Yeah, it's glossy. That's the only thing I'd say. It's a glossy, big budget shoot. You know, they knew how much money they needed to put into it to make it work and to market it and make it this big thing, and maybe they did hack it.
Isn't it such a shame that someone that was such a breath of fresh air for American comedy a few years ago is now completely stale?
Well, I don't think this is going to ruin his career as such. I think he's just fallen into a pattern of just doing stuff that he knows that works, and it's a formula, and that's it.
It's making money. It broke Sony's online release records.
Yeah, so
That
someone's
was
going to be
part
happy.
of the controversy backlash, you know, people say, oh, we must see this film, we must see this film. No one bothered to see if they actually wanted to see the film.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's not going to be one of those ones that's a keeper, tell you
So,
that.
I mean, I smell a 5-star, but guys, what's the real deal?
Your spidey senses are right. I think the real deal on this one is that aside from the controversy, there's really nothing to recommend this film apart from a couple of gags, and it looks quite good. I'll give it 2 out of 5.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that is all it's worthy of, not a recommendation from us.
Definitely not worth it. But a film that could be equally as controversial next, Shaun the Sheep, the movie. But will we like it? Let's find out after a clip.
Sheep, the movie there. I cannot wait to see this one. I'm a huge fan of Nick Park, Aardman animation, and I love Shaun the Sheep. Is it any good?
You know what? Surprisingly, it is.
Yes!
Yeah, I wasn't
Yes.
expecting to like it that much because I know nothing about the character apart from seeing him in one of the earlier Wallace and Gromit animations, I believe. It's a massive spin-off on television as well, so that's where a lot of people are going to go and watch it. And Shaun himself doesn't speak, which is kind of a bit of a problem when it's the main character in the film. So it's largely silent apart from the music. But everything
He
else,
just
brilliant.
eats a bit of grass,
Eats
doesn't
a
he?
bit of grass. He's very sly and clever and.
Some actors are like that though, aren't they? They don't have to do very much. Yeah.
So what actually does he do in this film? What makes it so
Well,
compelling?
it's an adventure about him and his farmer, and they're from a small rural farm, and they end up in the big city. So it's kind of that a small town sheep going to a big
like
city.
Babe.
It's like Babe, or one of those Footloose films or
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know. It just
Footloose.
Footloose. What was that one recently? That song, Small Town Girl. That one. You know the one. Anyway,
We Will Rock You.
That's it.
Yeah,
yes, that
yeah.
is the one I was thinking.
Yeah,
Well
see,
done.
always on the
Yeah.
ball.
So yeah, and I don't know how it relates to that actually, but yeah, it's the small town sheep going into a big city, and it's a relationship between him and his farmer, which is actually quite an endearing relationship. I wasn't expecting that either, but yeah, you get something out of it.
What I love about Aardman Animations is they make phenomenal animations for one, but also the humour that
Yeah.
they put into it is often very British. It's really key to our market.
Yeah.
Have we got all of that in this?
It is. I mean, if there's any problem with it, is that it might be too British.
Right.
But it does have that. It's very clever, these Aardman animations
Yeah.
as well. Like the kind of gadgets they use and the big set pieces. Like you always remember the one from The Wrong Trousers when they're doing the train chase and he's
Yeah.
building the tracks. There's a lot of little touches like that in this, which
Yeah.
really work.
Brilliant.
Well, also, and Gromit, famously, he's sort of the big, funny slapstick character in Wallace and Gromit, but he doesn't speak either. You both touched on the Britishness of this. I see a film, small town sheep, goes to rescue the farmer. Yes, please, I'll have some of that. But is it going to translate to an international audience?
Well, international audiences have like the previous Aardman animations, so I think it will. Probably not in the same numbers because this feels even more British, if you will. But I think, the fact that he doesn't speak means it's universal.
Okay, there we go. Well, listen, give us the real deal on Shaun the Sheep movie. I can't wait.
There you go, a surprisingly entertaining family film which has enough in there for the adults as well. Again, I'll give it 4 out of 5.
So
Brilliant.
you say people are going to flock to see this because it's sheer
Oh,
entertainment?
Joe,
got
how
any
many
more? Get 'em out of
times
your
have you
system. Get 'em out of your
raised
system
it?
now.
Guys, no, I'm going to stop this right now and just say, Cassam, thank you so much.
Cheers, mate.
Once
Pleasure.
again, it's been great. So there you have it. That is this week's show.
And as always, for more film news, reviews, and lots more fun film stuff, check out The Real Deal on film.com. And if you would like to chat to us about absolutely anything, it's at The Real Film Show on Twitter.
Thanks for watching.